Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 179 of the world's longest tenure Denver Nuggets spin-off podcast. Welcome to DNVR Nuggets' Serbian Corner. My name is Miroslav, and before we begin, please take a moment to like the video on YouTube, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the DNVR Sports YouTube channel and the DNVR Nuggets podcast channel. The audio version is ideal for your commute or to make your office or home office time more bearable. If you want to support the show more directly, you can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/MiroslavCUK, just like my Seco tier supporters Peter Plummer, Daniel Lynch, and Brian Johnson. Patreon supporters can enjoy the ad-free audio version of this show. They can also submit ideas for guests and topics and appear on the show during the summer. Last week started with the main event at the All-Star Weekend, moments after Serbian Corner ended. Nikola Jokić played just 5 minutes in the first of 4 different mini-games between the 3 All-Star teams. The need for load management of his right knee bone bruise and his All-Star game enthusiasm gelled perfectly, so the guys like Wembanyama and Karl Towns could play the most minutes. Jamal Murray was also a starter for Team World and had one very bad quarter and one very good quarter. Regardless, their team lost both quarters they participated in, so the team with the least star power, the USA Stars, won the whole thing, as I expected. 3 days later, the Nuggets finally made a roster move. They were against the deadline that was preventing them from having only 13 regular roster guys. In the last hours of this deadline, they finally agreed to sign Spencer Jones to a minimum deal that will last only until the end of this season. It was a big loss for their chances of keeping Spencer going forward, but a great win for their aspirations to stay under the luxury tax line and save their billionaire owners some much-needed millions. Kudos, I guess. A day later, the Nuggets traveled to LA to face the Hardenless, Zubacless Los Angeles Clippers. Everybody was complaining about the late start to the game, but I, for one, enjoyed the opportunity to sleep for more than half of the night. Anyway, even though Spencer Jones was finally available for the game, he did not start, and I believe I know why, but more on that a bit later in the show. Julian was once more the fifth starter next to Jamal, Christian, Cam, and Nikola, and he used his time well. He made 6 out of his first 7 threes, and had he hit one of the last 3, the Nuggets would have probably won this game. Bruce Braun was great off the bench, hitting his first 6 shots, and Cam Johnson had the best game since he came back from the injury. All that was in vain because Nikola Jokić had another subpar game for his standards, turning the ball over as often as making an assist. His defense looked a bit better, actually, but it felt like he was gassed at the end of the game. Also, he has missed all of his threes, and all of them were short, and 9 of 16 from the 2-point distance would have looked much better had he put some of those misses back in, as he usually does. Jamal was just 3 of 12 in the first 3 quarters, made some big shots down the stretch, but missed another clutch free throw that would have tied the game and taken it to overtime. 21 hours later, the team played in Portland. My first note, we need to calm down with praising the Nuggets for winning a lot of games on the second night of a back-to-back. It's not that big of a deal, but more on that in a couple of minutes. The game started with Joker turning his scoring setting all the way to 11. Shout out to Adam Mares and Ray Martinelli for making me think of Spinal Tap when we're talking about this. The big guy scored 19 points in the first quarter, despite missing 5 shots in that frame alone. That's how determined he was to shake Donovan Klingen's confidence. Despite Joker's 12 field goal attempts in the first 12 minutes, 6 other Nuggets scored as well, which was a sign of things to come in the remainder of this game. Jamal scored 15 in the second, Tim Hardaway joined the dynamic duo in the third, so most of the fourth quarter was just garbage time. That is why it was the only quarter the Nuggets didn't score 40-plus points in, so we had to live with only 157 points scored in this game. By the way, the new record of the Jokic era. Talk about a bounce-back game. Oh yeah, and Spencer Jones didn't start again. That will do for the intro today. My guest today is my fellow Gen Xer, my fellow Nuggets podcaster, and my fellow guitar player. from CSG Podcast, where he's been podcasting about the NBA team from Denver since World War I, which was called Just the Great War at the time, is the king of Thornton, Jeff Morton.
Hey, I felt bad. I felt left out for not having a guitar in the background, so I decided to grab mine, and like while Miro was talking, I was fiddling over here.
So what do you got there? I only can see like a quarter of its body.
This is a kit guitar. This is a guitar that was made. There's a humbucker and two like they're called rail podcast, the pickups, but they are just some pretty cheap mini humbuckers, and that's a full humbucker, and it's just it's one of these things that a friend gave me this guitar, and he's like, "Here, have it," and I've been playing it for 15 years.
You know what's funny? I'm gonna kick you out of the studio just for a second to show you my where is it? My white guitar back there. It's actually literally the same type of Stratocaster with the humbuckers, and I also got it for free from a friend who bought it and never played it. So it's a pretty weird story. Thank you, Tombe. Thank you for giving it to me. I have it for like 8 years now. And honestly, I've played on it for probably 20 hours total in 8 years. So not a lot of playing. I actually prefer the acoustic guitars even today. Yeah, and my older boy is now playing the classical guitar, so I have somebody to be worse to at my home, which is great feeling.
That's the ultimate goal, Miro. The ultimate goal.
Yeah, of course it is. So Jeff,
yeah,
just to ask you something personal, are you as insufferably confident today like I am, just because your team kicked ass last night?
Well, it was certainly this. It was funny. As when they got the lead up to just about 30 before halftime, I was like, it was like a big sigh of relief. I don't know why. It was just like, oh my God, okay, this is what a blowout looks like. It's been a while. I certainly don't want them to have a clutch game at this point. I do not want them to have a clutch game. So I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then they kept piling it on, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this win. I am going to take this win today and just be happy. I think they still have some issues, but I'll be honest with you, it was just good to get a game where you didn't have to think,
Yeah, and the funny thing about the clutch, and we are going off the script immediately now because I just remember the Nuggets something like 14 and 15 in the clutch this season, which is pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
But their net rating is like one of the worst in the entire league. They're like 25th or 26th in net rating in the clutch. Mm-hmm. And that's because they've been just losing their leads. Like they would have a lead, and then it would be like +5 for the Nuggets. And even if they would win by 1, that's still a net negative in that game. So it's been really frustrating so far. And I think we're going to talk about it in the second part of the show. But before that, just to think about last night's game a bit, I'm just going to say it. Back-to-back boogeyman is bullshit. I was always low on the impact of playing 2 days in a row. Tim Legler is on the record that playing in a back-to-back isn't a big deal. Eurobasket tournaments used to have like 5 games in 6 days, and nobody complained. I believe this player empowerment era, which is actually the superstar empowerment era, has made even people covering the sport too soft when writing about the impact of playing in consecutive days. The Nuggets looked like shit in LA, jumped on the plane, arrived in Portland in the morning, probably had some nice coffee in one of many hipster coffee places in that city, and then completely destroyed the Blazers, who are not good, but also not bad. They outrun the Blazers. They outshot the Blazers. Mm-hmm. They outdefended them. Joker went from hobbled, slow, and out of touch to battering ram unstoppable and determined not to play in the fourth quarter. How did you feel about the game last night, and what do you think about my back in my day notion about the back-to-backs?
It's first of all, I support any and all back in my days, and that's how I've built my brand. So you're speaking to you're speaking to me right now, Miroslav. But I actually, it's funny. The complaining about back to backs is really funny because there's always this subtle thing like we need to shorten the season with it that always comes. Everyone always talks about, no, we need to shorten the season, and the way to do it is we could get down to 66 games and eliminate a bunch of back to backs and stuff like that. And then I know they use the injuries as an issue for that, and I'm like, no, it's what has created this weird schedule the Nuggets have is that stupid in-season tournament.
Yeah.
And that is exactly it. And no one wants to challenge Mr. Silver on this because they sold TV packages based on the stupid in-season tournament, and they got money for it. So we're stuck with it. But the reality of the situation is, like, if they didn't have, there were vast gaps of time that the Nuggets had between games earlier this season. Just huge.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to even out the schedule, just get rid of that stupid thing, and we wouldn't have to deal with it. But I digress. The back to back things is like, okay, it's fine. It only matters when it's a bunch of games compressed, like 4 and 5, and they usually come on the road and stuff like that. The worst back-to-back is the Denver back-to-back, where you play one game in Denver one night and another one another night, because it truly does drain you because of the altitude. You would think the Nuggets would be used to it, but apparently that doesn't happen. So that is the worst one. But by and large, I just think it's just stupid. I'll be honest with you.
So why did the Nuggets crush the Blazers so hard last night after playing like shit, 21 hours before that in LA?
I can tell you exactly. Nikola Jokić came out and scored 19 points in the first quarter. That's exactly what happened. And the rest of the team was like, oh, they just followed him. Literally, that's it. You need no more thought than that. That's exactly what happened.
And you know what's funny? I actually think that Joker tried to do something similar in that Clippers game as well. He was actually shooting a lot in the second half of the first and third quarter of those games. He just missed all of his shots, and he actually cost the team in that game. He wasn't a huge negative in plus minus, but those were like the backbreaker series the Clippers have made with Joker on the court. I actually thought that at one point they should have closed with Jonas, because Jonas was having a good game versus the Clippers. But yeah, it was a weird game. And I think I saw even somewhere that was like the first his game since 2024 or something, where he was actively bad for the team. Like the team would have won had he didn't play at all. There's some sort of metric for it to determine how bad somebody's performance was.
We don't need no damn metric. We got our eyes. We got our eyes. We saw exactly what happened.
It is true. Back to last night's game. So one guy who had a great game is Julian Strawther. And to my personal surprise, he's been doing a lot of 2023 Christian Braun things lately. He's been cutting hard, finishing well around the rim, rebounding hard, and even making some defensive plays. On top of it, he is confident shooting the ball. Do you think we've seen enough to consider him a rotation piece even when everybody's back?
I don't know, considering how much they have invested in Peyton Watson. Well, somewhat invested in Peyton Watson, I should say. We'll get to that. But he is, I think the interesting thing is Malone had a ton of confidence in Julian Strawther. Ton. I mean, he played him more than any one of the other rookies. And I think that what you're seeing is he's given a long runway because of the injuries. And I think, and actually, I forget who pointed it out. It could be one of the DNVR wrap-up post-show guys may have pointed out that Jokic was just saying shoot to Julian Strawther during the game. And you can't underestimate what confidence that gives you when the best player in the superstar is saying shoot. So he's just got there just shooting. And I got to tell you, man, Julian Strawther with confidence is like J.R. Smith, former Nugget J.R. Smith. It either is going to go right in or it's going to go bounce off the rim and go over the backboard. There's no in between. But when they go in and when he is hot, it is a sight to behold. And it's really kind of exciting. You get caught up in it, kind of like Tim Hardaway Jr. Same thing.
I was wondering, I heard that comment. This was probably from Brendan Vogt, he's always in the arena. And I was thinking about that. Shoot it when he got the ball. Does that mean I believe in your shot or I don't believe in your dribbling the ball?
Well, it could be both. It could be both.
You know,
Jokic doesn't mask his emotions well. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 9 times out of 10, I think he's just pissed. He's just like upset that no one is doing it the way he thinks they should. But at the same time, it's like, man, I think Julian having that permission has actually worked really well, even though it hasn't translated to exciting play of late. I think you need a guy who's going to space the floor. And quite frankly, as we've discussed with other guys, they don't have a ton of floor spacers. And he really works really well in the Jokic context in that sense, I think.
Yeah. It was a sight to behold, and I couldn't be happier to be wrong about somebody. I'm always happy when I'm wrong about a Nugget not being good. Like that's just a perfect way to be wrong about. Okay, let's take a short break, and then we will continue dissecting the game we just saw. So don't go anywhere. Apparently, I'm using the computer for the first time in my life, so I have no idea how I'm doing this. Okay, so I have to ask you about one detail that made me frown several times, even during a 54-point win. This is just the way I am. I'm an old person, so what are you going to do? Our guys at the DNVR post-game show mentioned last night that even though Christian didn't have a lot of points, just 11, it was impressive that he also had 7 assists. I felt, watching game live on my TV, that most of those assists happened after Joker would give him the ball to do something with it on the run, but he declined so many times and just returned the ball to guys who just made a lot of shots. Am I being too harsh to Christian about his last night's performance?
So I'm glad we are doing this show together because you had the same exact thought that I did. Literally, I was like, no, Christian's just bailing on a shot. Yeah. And it's what the single most, I think you agree with this, Miroslav. I think it's the single most frustrating thing in the world is to have him literally wide ass open on shots and just passing it up, kind of dribbling a little to the middle and then pulling out. I mean, just doing stuff like just shoot the ball. They've left you open for a reason. And I will give this to Peyton Watson. He shoots.
Yeah.
You're going to leave him open like that. He's going to shoot. He may not make it, but he's going to shoot. Christian just refuses to do it. And you are absolutely right. The guys, Christian's fortunate, the guys that he was passing to were making shots. That's why assists are kind of a weird thing. It's like, oh, you just kind of bailed out on something and someone happens to make a shot. But this is absolutely true. And I'm glad you said that. This is something I thought about last night too.
It's something it's not as extreme as some of bad James Harden's team where he would just dribble the ball for 22 seconds and then send a grenade to somebody, and that somebody has no choice but to shoot it. Right. And sometimes they will hit it, and James is going to get an assist for it, even though the other guy had no choice but to shoot the damn ball. But yeah, I don't want to digress too hard. I don't really have a question about KJ Simpson for you. It's really hard to make grand proclamations based on 6 minutes of garbage time in a 50-point win. I do want to mention that KJ Simpson sounds awfully similar to J.K. Simmons, and it's going to hurt my brain for a little while. It was good that the garbage time went great as well, right? Like Deron looked great in the last minutes of the game.
What was that movie J.K. Simmons was in where the violin teacher was, or no,
the Whiplash.
Whiplash? Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So you're thinking of a Whiplash situation up there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God. That's not J.K. Simmons. That's K.J. Simpson.
K.J. Simpson. Yeah, no, he. I have no thought. I mean, I saw him at CU, but I honestly don't remember him. So I seeing him last night was literally the first time I'm having to be reminded of him, I guess. And I was like, he seemed to be a little, and they seem to be enjoying his time out there. That's it's when a player like that comes out there, you're like, what, is he having fun? Is he enjoying himself?
Good.
Yes.
It could be noticeable that he played over Jalen Pickett last night. Jalen Pickett was the only guy that didn't get in the game, even though he wasn't on the injury report. Do you think that could be significant?
I do think that Pickett's problem. Well, I think that's more of actually a Strawther thing, because Julian has kind of come into where Jalen was. Julian, a lot of J names.
I know.
I think that's more. I mean, the problem with Julian is he needs a very specific set of circumstances to excel, and this Nuggets team needs more people who work in concert with Jokic very specifically. And you having a small guy who is slow is just not going to be conducive to good offense. And I think that was the appropriate decision that David Adelman made, because like, look, Julian's going to fire away and serve that purpose that you need in a Jokic offense. Jalen Pickett's going to try to back someone down and or chuck a three at the end of a clock or such situation. He wasn't providing anything, so have Julian in there.
Do you think now, after this 50-point blowout, do you think the Nuggets are gonna be embarrassed of themselves if they play bad next time around? Do you think this is kind of like a new floor? I'm not saying they're gonna blow out every team by 50 points, but it's like they now have the floor of the intensity they should be at to play professional basketball games. Or is it just like, yeah, we had a really, really good shooting night and a really confused opponent, so we got used to it, instead of just being them being back?
Oh, it's interesting you point this up, because I've been thinking about this a lot. Nikola Jokić got a lot more criticism and all that at the All-Star break than he has faced in years. Yeah. And it was all because of effort, energy, blah, 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 blah. Stuff that, like, who cares about an exhibition game, I know that's exactly the way Jokic feels, but I do think that got to him, because he does that interview with Malika, and where he's insisting he cares. And you don't do that unless you want to put out there that you want people to know that you care. I think that is the beginning of the change in mentality from Nikola. I do think that he kind of really sucked in the Clippers game, but I do think games out of the All-Star break are really generally really kind of weird. I really do believe that it finally, Jokic is he's the straw that stirs the drink. It starts with him. I'm telling you, as soon as he came out and was like, I'm going to score, like literally from the beginning, everyone changed, because he's been taking a step back in a lot of these games at the beginning of these games. He didn't do that. I think it's sustainable especially with this current construction of the roster, if he continues it on. If Nikola Jokic decides, I am the alpha, I am the omega, I will do this. And if he does that, this team will follow him, and I think it'll be sustainable.
We'll get back to Joker in our next segment, but before that, I wanted to. I found interesting what you said, that the first game after the All-Star break can be weird. As I get older, I understand that my diet gets more important every year, and maybe it's just like that Cancun cuisine is much nicer than their team cuisine. And they come back, so they're like feel awful after having a meal. I'm not saying I'm basing that on what they give the press to eat at the arena. It's just like maybe it's not same levels of luxury.
I'll never forget. Once former PR guy Tim Gelt, I once told him, they said, like, you guys need to get in there and feed the players and the staff the exact same crap that they feed us in the media, and they will go out there and play like crap. They'll know what we go through.
And for the record, people complain about bad press food in Denver. I'm going to tell you, man, I've been to many games as a press member in Belgrade. We got no food there, so it's way better in Denver. It's way better. So yeah, it's literally first world problems. Okay, let's take another short break, and then after that, we're gonna talk a bit more about Nikola Jokić. So don't go anywhere. My computer struggles continue. Okay. So before last night's game, I wanted to talk about Joker's slump. And I still do, even after that first quarter last night. I think he didn't make any mistakes in that stretch, mostly because he was looking the other guys off. It was a very simple game plan. Just go through everybody like water and take a shot, even if it has to be an awkward one. Just take it. I don't think Joker is back at all. But I do think that what he did last night was the right path for him to get back. What do you think about his 8-game stretch, since he returned? By the way, I checked the numbers. The numbers are not that bad. It's 24 points, 13 rebounds, 9.3 assists, 5 turnovers, and the shooting splits are not great. 49, 29, 78. Is this the worst stretch of this season, these 8 games, the worst 8-game stretch of this season? And were you shocked by how Joker looked in that period?
Well, there's two things. I think, I do think that his knee was still bothering him, and I do think that his wrist has been bothering him. But I do think he was also saving energy, and part of him saving energy was getting to the free throw line. And the first game back against the Clippers, when Harden was still in the Clippers, was Jokic. I think he went to the line 15 times or something like that. He shot 15 or 16
17, something like that. Yeah.
And I do think it was a lot, and it was a lot for him. And I do think that when you're not feeling good, you take the path of least resistance. So what you do is you let other guys you let your other teammates cook. And when you do it, you rely on getting to the free throw line to save energy. And I really do think, first of all, I think he's way, way, way out of shape. Just epically out of shape. I know that is a taboo subject in some areas, but holy crap, he's out of shape. And you can't help it. He was off.
He couldn't run for a full month. Yeah. So it makes sense. He's a big guy. He takes more time to get in shape than some other guys.
Yeah. And it took him, when he came into the season, he was way out of shape. And then he worked himself in. He started firing like all on cylinders. It's just going to happen. So all of those things happen at the same time. And I do think him trying to draw fouls was him saving energy, but it was like the detriment of the team. I don't think he's 100% healthy, but I do think he finally realized that he's not going to get the calls. Or if he relies on the calls, he's not going to get it. And I do think that realization after the Clippers game, because he was really bad in the Clippers game, once he realized that, I think he's just like, okay, I just got to do it then, not worry about it. Even if I hurt, even if all of this is going on, I have to do it. Because this is the first major injury of his career. Well, not really major, but I mean, a bone bruise hurts. And it's going to take him a bit. It really is. And I think once he gets used to the pain and all of that, and it'll come in and he'll look like normal Jokic.
Yeah, it was a bad feeling. I'm not going to lie to you. It's like we have so many variables during the season, but at least we know of one constant and one guy who is going to give, his part every time, and the other guys are going to be the X factors or the ceiling raisers, everything like that. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, this guy is not doing it. And here's actually what was on my mind. I think that Jokic ball works only if Jokic is like a top 5 player in the league. Like if Jokic is not a top 5 player in the league, his defensive shortcomings are going to be much more visible, because if your offense is not perfect, you have to play against a lot of running from the other team, and then you are in a big shtuk there. So yeah, basically 10% slower Joker just does not cut it. Like we always say that like his game is gonna age gracefully. I'm not sure, man. Like I'm not sure. He will need to change his game for sure, but he might need a different kind of roster in his later part of career. Some more athletes, some really long guys, some really lengthy guys to just compensate for the things, because if he's 10% slower, he get the ball out of his hands much easier by the other team defenders. They just will swipe it away from him, and he doesn't have the time to react to defense. So yeah, that was an uneasy feeling for me. But you know what? It's he's human. We now know he's human.
Well, he's going to have to come into next year, I think, and he's going to. This is another thing that got me in trouble. I think he's going to have to stop the summer of Jokic stuff and just spend an entire summer just dedicating himself to doing what Luka did and losing all that, because he's getting to the age now where it's going to be harder and harder to recover from that sort of thing. You and I know it. I'll be 48 this year. A couple days ago, I went out and I had several drinks, and it's taken me till today to feel like a human. That time gets longer and longer and longer as you get older. So I think this may be the signal for Jokic to start doing that.
You need more time to get in shape, and you need more time to recuperate from the things that take you out of shape. So yeah.
Yep.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's now go to one of my favorite subjects, and that is Denver Nuggets penny pinching. It's like something that's been bothering me less than it has been bothering you, because you've been following the team way longer than I have. So you know of some pretty spectacular cost saving moves, I'm guessing. The only one I really remember was giving away the first round pick to get off Kenneth Farid and Darrell Arthur. I believe those two contracts, they needed to give away a first round pick just for those contracts to disappear
to Houston
from their salary sheet.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and there was also another trade to Philadelphia to get off Wilson Chandler's money as well. So it was like it's been rough before, and it's kind of getting rough too. So right after Spencer signed the minimum contract for the rest of this season, Yossi Gozlan, who is the host of the Third Apron podcast and a salary cap expert, tweeted out that if Spencer starts in 7 more games, he would qualify for something that's called starters criteria, which means the Nuggets would have to offer him $5.9 million qualifying offer this summer just to keep his free agency restricted. Is it fair to ask whether Spencer is not starting since he signed the deal because the Nuggets are trying to save money next season? And are they also potentially hurting his free agency on purpose so they would have an easier, and when I say easier, I mean cheaper path to retain him? Why are they so afraid to pay this guy? Is it because they fear he's smarter than most of the people in the organization?
Well, if you want the breakdown here, I can tell you that the Nuggets at the start of the season did not anticipate this two-way situation with Spencer to be deviating. This wasn't in the cards, and obviously a lot of it changed due to the injuries and all that stuff. So what the Nuggets should have done is approach him with a deal a couple months ago and
Exactly.
try to get that converted back then. But due to a very specific need to get under the tax, the Nuggets were motivated in a different direction. So everything came below doing that. Now, I have my feelings about the situation next year as how it pertains to the tax, but I will say, just as far as this year, their biggest motivation, they were not intending to be in the tax at all coming into the season. They were only kicked into it by the incentives from Cam Johnson and I think Aaron Gordon. So what happened was they got under it, and that was their only goal. Once they got under it, that dictated absolutely everything that the Nuggets did. And it still does, because yes, 100%. Spencer Jones, unless there is some catastrophic injuries happening again, which hopefully not, I don't anticipate him starting another game in the regular season, because they want to give him a very much lower qualifying offer. Even then, that qualifying offer by itself will be more money by far than he will have ever earned so far.
Yeah.
So just that qualifying offer. So yes, the Nuggets are doing their holy best to try and make sure they don't have a long-term large financial commitment to Spencer Jones.
What is your annoyance level when you know that your team has a top 10 or top 15 player of all time and they're doing their best to get under the tax? What sort of message does that send to the fans worldwide?
Well, it's a terrible message, but I'll tell you that they should have, if they were going to go this direction, they should have got out of the tax the year before last and started it then if they wanted to reset the Peter timeline. The repeater is 3 consecutive years, or a period of 3 and 5 years, essentially, is what it is, to then being in the tax. And if they wanted to do that, and I don't know if you heard Kevin Demoff, the president of KSE, talking about how terrible the repeater tax is and all that stuff right before they get Nuggets ducked the repeater tax. And then he said, well, you have to stay out of it for 2 consecutive years in order to reset it. And I think when you have that mentality, it makes me realize that they should have done this earlier, because the Nuggets' perfect example of time to do this, if you're going to go with what they have been doing with the young guys, was a couple years ago. I mean, bite the bullet then, because right now Jokic is 31. You want him to sign an extension while cutting money and penny pitching. That is a hard deal to thread. I don't think there's a risk, by the way. I'm not saying that there is, but I'm saying the cognitive dissonance is really weird of trying to convince Jokic to re-sign this deal and pinch the hell out of money. And that's a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, Joker will sign the extension for sure. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he will ever request a trade. Nope. But by the way, this is what the NBA superstars do nowadays. They sign the extension and then ask for the trade, because that's the way they earn the maximum amount of money. And it's nowadays, I feel like their agents are more like money laundering guys than like sports agents. Like, they know every loophole in the CBA and stuff like that. They know how to maximize. And I'm not saying about maximizing players' money. I'm talking about maximizing their like cut of players' contracts. So yeah. I guess that's something that's. Let me ask you something. Yeah. Have you seen the Nuggets or other NBA organizations doing the thing they're doing to Spencer right now, just minimizing their value for next season, just to to take advantage of that situation and just keep the guy?
Yeah, the Sixers did this last year. The Sixers squeezed what was it, Jared McCain, who was in the that Luka Doncic thing that happened and somehow was anyway. They just squeeze them and squeeze them and squeeze them, and then I think did they end up cutting him this year? I'm trying to remember.
Now they have traded him to
Traded him.
OKC.
That's right. They traded him to
OKC.
the OKC. And they kept squeezing and squeezing. That's exactly what's. I mean, this is what the Aprons have done this year. I mean, well, yeah, just teams are just doing things where they are using restricted free agency really specifically to squeeze players. I hate the concept of restricted free agency.
Yeah,
it sucks, and especially when you use a fake cap that doesn't exist in order to squeeze players. I got my soapbox. I'm going to get off my soapbox, but that is just crappy to me. And yeah, it's happening all over the league right now.
and by the way, OKC got another potentially really good player on a really cheap deal. So you love to see it, right? Like it's something we're hoping for. God damn it. Okay, let's take another short break, and after that, I wanted to ask you, what should the Nuggets do in the next several weeks with their game? Don't go anywhere. So, Jeff, what would you like to see from the Nuggets in the upcoming weeks before Aaron and Peyton return? Are you a fan of Cam Johnson being played at the 4 after suffering a bone bruise earlier? Is that the way to overcome not having their best 2 power forwards?
Well, no. The thing to do would be starting the person who they're trying to depress the salary of.
Exactly.
So yes, the person who should be in there is Spencer Jones, and I think. I mean, look, if they play like they did last night, then I guess it comes out in the wash. But I don't know. They have to survive until Peyton and AG get back. And I've come to appreciate AG so much more this year. So much more. I mean, he's been injured, and I really hate this is happening to him this year. I'll be honest with you. I think the stuff that he does on the court is so important to Nikola Jokić. It cannot go underestimated. He is the guy, and he does everything, and they can't get him back soon enough, I think. And I think actually getting him back, even if he's limited, is going to make things make a lot more sense too. But in the meantime, if it was me, I would just start Spencer Jones.
For 6 games, not for 7. For 6
yes,
games.
For 6 very specific games.
You know what's funny? That actually might work. Like it would be extremely obvious what they're doing, but at the same time, it would help them, survive another couple of weeks there. And I'm not sure what the expected dates for Aaron and Peyton are at this point. I kind of feel like it's gonna be closer to mid-March than the beginning of the March. Am I too pessimistic?
No, I think that's probably correct. We're almost to March now. AG's been out since the beginning of February, was it?
Yeah, something like that.
And his was another 4 to 6 weeks. Peyton I think he's on a quicker timeline. So I think that will be and his wasn't, I mean, I don't know, with hamstrings, I would hate getting a hamstring injury because they always come back.
Yeah.
And you got to be really careful. It's like with the Cavs are the same way. They always come back, and AG's had them a lot. So you're going to be careful. But I would expect Peyton to come back before AG, 100%. And it'll be, I don't know, I can't predict when it'll be, but it will probably be within a couple of weeks, I would say.
I'm not worried about Peyton's hamstring as much for 2 reasons. First, he's really young. And secondly, I'm not sure he's going to be a Nugget next season. So maybe that won't be our problem. That's a really dark thought. But when it comes to AG, when it comes to guys like Cam Johnson, like who become injury prone at some point in their careers, I always fear that we are going to get another round of Will Barton and Gary Harris, who at one point just started getting hurt
yeah.
every couple of months. And the Nuggets didn't win a championship until they had to cut loose of those guys and just bring some healthier and more ready guys. It's a really dark thought, and it's not something to be talking about this season for sure. But it might be something to consider going forward, which is really frightening considering how important Aaron Gordon is to this team. And if he cannot stay on the court consistently, that could be being between the hammer and a hard place, or whatever you call it.
Rock and a hard place.
Yeah. Close enough. Close enough.
You got it. No, it's and AG. I'm going to be really curious to see what the Nuggets do in the future with him. What the plan is. He's under contract for, I think, what, 2 more years, 3 more years?
Three actually.
Yeah, 3. And he gave him a break when he signed his extension last year. So I'm curious to see what the plan is with that. Curious to see what the plan is with Peyton. But I also like this team. I don't know. Let me ask you: this team healthy? How much confidence do you have in it? They were fully healthy. How much confidence?
Well, there are 2 questions there. Like, if they're healthy, I have full confidence they're the best team in the league.
Yeah.
This is my full confidence. Problem is, I don't have confidence in them being fully healthy. Like, I honestly expect them to be semi-healthy at the beginning of the playoffs, and just hopeful for them to not have too grueling of a round 1, so they could get healthy later in the playoffs and possibly survive 4 different playoff series.
Yeah. This is not the 2023 team. And that 2023 team had a lot of grit to it that really showed in the playoffs. But what also helped them was they really basically took the month of March off that year.
Yeah.
And remember, we
were panicking about it, by the way.
Yes, yes. But they did it, and it worked because they came in completely rested. And I do wonder if that, since they don't have that scenario the last 3 years, what their approach will be, and if how much they're going to go pedal to the metal going into these playoffs. Does seeding still matter to them? I think it should, but I don't know. I maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't matter as much as it used to, but I think they should try to get at least the 3rd seed. You
know. When you mentioned seeding, and I was just looking at the standing this morning, and the Nuggets are somehow number 3 again, even though they have 1 loss more than the Rockets. But the Rockets somehow played 3 games fewer than the Nuggets. I have no idea when they're going to play all of those games. It's going to be a nightmare for them at some point.
Talk about a crammed schedule. It'll be the Rockets.
Exactly. So the Nuggets are like 5 games in the loss column behind the Spurs, and I don't think they can catch them. The Spurs are young and ready to play hard every night, regardless of who's playing. Like, they have something like, I don't know, off the top of my head, something like 9-4 record when Wembanyama is not playing.
Yeah,
which is like, that's perfectly good enough. The Thunder is actually close to them, way closer to the Spurs than the Nuggets are to Spurs. At the same time, the Lakers have the same number of losses as the Nuggets, but I feel like they're the fakest playoff team of all time. Like, I just cannot believe they still have this kind of record with that kind of defense, which is pretty funny to say from a Nuggets fan perspective. Like,
right.
It's not like we're like some dominant defensive force either. It's just that I trust the composition of the team the Nuggets have way more than what Rob Lowe of LA Lakers have done for their team.
The Lakers are in holding mode, Luka, so I think they are in our roster will look better next year situation, because ain't no way LeBron re-signing with that team. So that's $50 million off the books right there. So but I think that's what it is. And yeah, that they are fake good record team that is doing it almost entirely based on Luka jacking shots, which is fine. He'll gladly serve that purpose. But I think that there are some teams in the West that just they're like that. They're like the Lakers in that way, where it's just you can't trust them. I mean, even the Nuggets. Look at, I mean, just with all the injuries, it's even the Thunder have been. They started 24-1, and they're basically 500 cents, and they're not the same team as last year. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to kind of wrap up, because these teams are really evolving in an interesting way as we get through these games. And but if you're thinking, like, as for the Nuggets goes, I don't have a lot of fear, quote unquote, fear from a lot of these teams. It's more about how much do I trust this Nuggets team.
It's really interesting. I agree with you. There's not a single juggernaut out west this season. The Thunder were the closest thing to it in the first half of the season, or first third of the season, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they showed such. By the way, the injury to J-Dub is really serious for them. It's probably the bigger loss to the Thunder than whatever the Nuggets have had to sustain.
Oh, yeah.
So far. And because he's basically their second ball handler, and the secondary ball handler to Shea. They do have AJ Mitchell, who was also hurt. So it's like it's a team that works perfectly with 3 or 4 main components, and when they don't have one of those, it's getting pretty ugly pretty quickly. I don't trust the Timberwolves either, but I'm scared shitless from them whenever we have to meet them because of the antics and the recent history against them. How do you feel about the Timberwolves?
I think the Nuggets got over some demons with the Wolves this year. I think they beat them 3 in a row, and I think the important one was the Christmas Day one, because they were down in that game a couple times, and they came back and just gritted that. That was a clutch time win for the Nuggets, even though they gave up the lead in the fourth quarter in that one. I think that game answered all the questions I need about the current version of the Nuggets and their ability to handle the Timberwolves. I think the last 2 years they fell off, but this year you can't underestimate 3 wins in a row, and I do think that thing was. Well, actually, I will tell you this: the most important win of the year for me, as far as what the Nuggets could do, was the Christmas Day game. In particular, Jokic scoring, what was it, 18 points in overtime or something like that?
Yeah.
Something insane. It was incredible. But that was the game for me, and that really proved all the things I need to know. So I don't have that lingering issue with the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I recently revisited that. They scored something like 24 points in 3 minutes, something stupid like that, because they haven't scored in the first 2 minutes of that overtime. They were down 9, and then just hit everything to the end of the
literally everything.
Pretty crazy. This is how old I am. I forgot, because we were talking about the Lakers, and I had this thought to ask you, and then I forgot it. Moved to Timberwolves, but I remember you mentioned the Lakers will not have LeBron's $50 million contract next season on the books. They wouldn't have it this year if he didn't pick up his player option, by the way. So this is the reason he's been a Laker this season as well.
Yep.
What do you expect is going to happen with LeBron next season? Because there's like this idea that he's going to return to Cleveland, and Cleveland is over the second apron, so they can only offer him the minimum contract. Is it going to be like he's going to make a PR spin saying, I want to play for a minimum contract because money means nothing to me? Or is he still going to hope for somebody to be crazy and give him a big contract, maybe in some sort of sign-and trade deal with the Lakers, so he would still get something substantially more than the minimum? Or do you think maybe there's a third option? He just retires completely and starts his own league because he's too much of an egoist to go out without a huge bang?
I think he'll retire, to be quite honest with you, and I think he intends to go into ownership. I think his next path is going to be an owner, and I do think you got two new teams coming up here really soon between Las Vegas and Seattle, and I do think that his eyes are on ownership and being that next level. I think there's some reality that came into him this year when the Lakers weren't building around him. I think that was a cold bit of water for him. And I think he has internalized it. And I think he just wants it, just in my view, this is my interpretation. I just think he wants to get into ownership now. I really do think that is his future, because why be a minimum contract guy on another team if you can just ride off into the sunset and become one of the power players in the NBA in a different way?
Are we gonna get the last season of LeBron not being his farewell season, with all the songs and music and stuff like that before every game? It's so weird. I think the oldness hit him faster than he thought it would.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it happens to all of us, right? It's just like sometimes you look in the mirror and suddenly you're like, oh shit, I'm old. What happened? Like I was youthful yesterday. It happened to me. I saw a picture of myself from a couple days ago. I got this gray hair here, and I'm looking up and I'm like, God, when did I become a 50-year-old man?
Man, I hate when I go to the barber and I'm due. As you can see, I need to go to the barber really quickly. And when they cut my hair, everything beneath me is gray. It's really dark, but it's actually gray. It's pretty annoying. Okay, everybody knows about your CSG podcast, the Morcast, the Gen X show. To plug that, but do you have something in the works for the Denver Stiffs? Some sort of writing?
I don't, but I just I always write when I feel like I'm inspired, as opposed to 15 years ago when I was writing all the time. I now, if a light bulb goes on over my head, I will write something. But my job is the podcast, so I'm doing Mortcast 3-4 days a week now. CSG Podcast on Apple and I was going to say iTunes. Wow. On Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and I've been doing that for 15 years since the Great War.
The Great War, yeah. This is how we called it back in the day. Yeah, exactly. Okay, that is all I've prepared for you today, my dear listener. And please, pretty please, take the word prepared very loosely. I basically put out some questions and let Jeff cook for an hour. Be well, be safe, be kind to everybody. Call your mom, and until next week, remember that my plan is to be Nuggets forever.